Welcome to the Determined Mom Show, the only marketing podcast dedicated to guiding mom CEOs into tranquility, wealth, and multiplying those precious moments. Welcome to this episode of the Determined Mom Show. I have the lovely Nicola Mercer with me, and she is a health and wellness coach, and her company is Life Now Coaching. Today, we are going to be talking about something that is all too important, and that is how to start building daily habits for your health and well-being. So welcome.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you here. And this is a topic, and we're still in January as this is being aired. And this is such an important topic because without daily habits, without building those habits, we can't really succeed and we can't build on them and form those patterns. So I'm very excited to hear about this, but I would also like to hear about you and your background and how you got started.
Yeah, so I'm quite a new health and wellness coach, new into the entrepreneurial world. I worked for Nike, so obviously a big global brand, and I'd been there just over 20 years. And I was made redundant in March of 21 and was quite lost, thinking, what do I do next? I'd worked there such a long time. And I really loved the company and the culture, and thinking about how I would move forward and replace that was quite challenging and really scary as well. And I decided to just take a little bit of time to think about what came next, and decided to start training to become a personal trainer, because I'm super passionate about exercise and moving your body every day. And it just kind of evolved as I started to do that training and dipping my toes in to some blogging and really just thinking about the whole wellness piece, because health and wellness has, along with exercise, always been something that I'm really interested in. A lot of my personal journey with health, both mental and physical health, has kind of led me down that path where I've had that real interest in the impact health and wellness can have on your life, especially for women. So yeah, just evolved into where I am now with setting up my own business and becoming a health and wellness coach. So it's really exciting, learning lots of new things, meeting lots of new people, and just, really looking forward to helping as many women as I can to, improve their overall health and well-being in their own lives.
I love that. And something that I really think is a really good example for us all. And I'm sure there are many women that are listening to this right now, and they've been in that position where either they left their job or they lost their job or the company went out or they were downsized. All of those things happen. And that question of what do I want to do next? Do I want to just go after that same job and just kind of put myself back on that hamster wheel, as I like to call it, of life? Or do I want to really just focus on what I love doing? And I'm so proud of you that you chose to walk the harder path, which is to, start your own coaching business. So I love that.
Yeah, thank you. I won't say that it's not scary. There's lots of ups and downs, and it's still very early days. But so far, I am really enjoying it. And I think one of the big things that I've learned quite quickly is how much else there is out there. Nike are obviously such a huge company, and there was just, so much involved in the job that I did. It was really exciting and really dynamic. And I was just wrapped up in that bubble and kind of thought that was it. I loved what I did, so I didn't really experience what else was out there. And that's been the big eye opener, is that there are so many opportunities and great businesses. And what I've seen is a lot of women, running their own business on their own, who are making a real difference in people's lives. So yeah, it's quite a scary journey to be on, but I'm hoping that it has been the right decision for me.
I definitely think it has. And being with the
Yeah.
company for 20 years, like you don't necessarily think that there's going to be a next step other than like maybe
Yeah.
retirement, you know? But yeah, I think it's awesome. You're setting an amazing example for women everywhere. So I am very excited that you are here. So let's talk about daily habits and how they affect our health and well-being, and then how in the world can we get them to stick? I think that's one of my biggest challenges is like, okay, I'll get up and I'll walk one day and, you know, I'll do my treadmill and or take a long walk. And then the next day I just don't feel like it. So how in the world can we make those healthy things that we need to be doing habits?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the reason why they're important is because habits are running the show. So, in everyone's lives, so much of what you do every day comes from the habits that you've formed. And a lot of those habits have been formed from quite a young age and formed and performed each day without you even realizing them. They're super important because every day, somewhere around 40 to 50% of the things you do come from habits. So, they are playing a massive role in your life every day. And the habits, fit into what you think, what you feel, as well as the actions that you're taking as well. So when it comes to your health, you need to have the right habits in place, because over half of the things that you're doing every day, or around half of the things, are coming from habits. And being healthy needs to just fit as part of your overall lifestyle. I think what happens with a lot of people is when they consider trying to be healthier, they might say, oh, I want to lose weight, or I want to get fitter, or I want to take better care of myself, those kinds of phrases. And then they just think, right, okay, I've said that now. It can happen. I do want to lose weight. I do want to get fitter. I do want to feel healthier. That's it. I've said it, and that's enough of a commitment. But what they don't realize is that you have to take those actions, and those actions need to just flow within your life quite naturally, so that they are habits that you can do without forcing something to happen. Because as you mentioned with the treadmill, you might say, oh, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go on the treadmill in the morning, I'm going to do a run. So you've said it and you've set the intention, but whether you do it or not is another thing. You've got to force yourself. You have to make it happen some way. And you get up the next morning, you might think, oh, I feel a bit tired, I'm a little bit sluggish today. No, I'm not going to go on the treadmill today. And that's because it's not a habit. It's not there as part of just your natural life and lifestyle. So that's why it is so important to form habits, because choosing to be healthy isn't something that should be a one-off or should keep happening and you keep failing at. It should be something that is just part of everyone's lives, and especially for women. And a lot of the women who coaching at the moment are women who own their own business as well. And so it's even more important that they take care of their health to be able to perform well, every day in running their own business. And alongside that, usually families and a home and everything else along with it. So yeah, you want health to just be part of who you are and your lifestyle. And the best way to make that happen is to have the right habits in place so that you can do the things that you need to do to be healthy without having to continuously think about it, continuously push yourself, not do things, then feel like you're failing, beat yourself up about it, and just get trapped in that whole cycle of, trying, putting some effort in, it not happening, giving up, feeling really deflated, and then you're back to the beginning again at another point in time.
Yeah. What are the biggest challenges? I love that you work with business owners that are women, first of all. But what are the biggest challenges that you've seen all of them facing when it comes to actually forming those habits?
I think there's two things. The first one is time. So for many people, especially women, time is the biggest barrier. It's always a case of feeling that your life is so busy. And again, a lot of people approach the decision or the desire to be healthy with meaning that they need to put time into it. You know, they approach it as something that has to be a task on their to-do list. And, you know, you have so many other things to do that it ends up being pushed to the bottom of the list and not getting done. So that's the first barrier. And then the second one is that, you know, I can't say that it is easy. It is hard to create new habits and to create positive, right habits that are going to overtake those bad habits, because bad habits don't disappear, and you don't really break a bad habit by choosing to say, I'm going to break that habit. You stop the habit by putting a better habit in place of it, but it's always there, it's always underneath. And so I think, yeah, it is hard, and that can put a lot of people off, and you will fail, and that failure does lead to feeling as though it's just impossible to make happen. So that's the two biggest things, and you know, that pretty much is what leads to a lot of women not being able to put the habits they want to in place.
I can agree that I struggle with both of those two things. So I
Right.
totally agree with those.
Yeah.
So what can we do to really make a habit of creating those habits, if that makes sense? I think that's a
Yeah.
weird way of saying it, but yeah.
On the time issue, my advice is to not approach it as a task, as another thing to do. You're making a big choice and taking a big leap forward to, you know, say, I'm going to take steps to become healthier. So you see it as something that will fit into your lifestyle. It won't need more time. It doesn't necessarily need more money, you know, against it either. So just trying to have a different mindset at the beginning. And then with the habit, being really clear on what it is you want to change first. Because again, a lot of people can look and think, but I need to change so many things. You know, they might say, well, I need to change what I eat. I need to change how much I move around. I need to change the way I sleep, the way I stress over things. And they look at everything, and then it becomes really overwhelming. So to break it down and identify the habits that are the ones you would like to put in place first, because they're going to make the most impact. So start small, and then it comes from practice. So practicing what it is that you want to put in place. So just say you think, right, and the most important thing for me at the moment is that I need to move more. You know, a lot of women, again, especially those running their own businesses, are sat in front of a screen for many, many hours of the day, sometimes into the evening and late at night as well. So they're probably not moving very much. So if a client said to me, you know, this is the main thing I need to focus on, is being more active and getting more movement on a regular basis. And we say, okay, you know, we'd work through what it is exactly that's going to mean for her. And say we came to it being a case of 3 times a week, she's going to take a lunch break to go for a walk or maybe even a jog. And then you need to start working on that particular habit and putting in little steps and cues, as we call them, to make that run or walk happen on the lunchtime. So for example, blocking that time out in the calendar so that it's in there. You don't schedule something else at the same time. You've got a reminder that comes up to tell you to do it. And then you have to do it. And it has to be repeated with consistency so that it does become a habit. And that is literally how habits are formed, through repetition. The final kind of partner with that helps, I guess, probably more than anything, is that habits are formed in our brain. There's obviously a lot of psychology into all of it, but the reward system's really important in creating that action to be an actual habit. So you need to have the reward. So if you did that walk or jog on a lunch break, you need to make sure that you're then given some reward from it. So for example, telling yourself, oh, that was great, I have enjoyed it. You know, I got outside, I had fresh air, it was lovely to be away from my desk. You know, and then there's things like just rewarding yourself because you took that action, you know, saying, for example, you were great there, you did put it in your calendar, you stuck to it, you got up, you left your desk. And so that reward is what kind of closes the loop and makes it form as a habit because your brain now thinks, oh, that felt nice and I like that. And our brains work on wanting to do the easiest thing for us to save the most energy. That's how we intrinsically work as humans. So that's why the brain likes to form habits, because it wants to just know next time it sees that cue, it'll just pick that file out of the filing cabinet, if you picture it like that, and say, oh, this is the file that I need to open in action because of what's just happened here. And it's easy and it's done and there's very little energy needed. So it will form, but it just takes that little bit of time to get established and put in place.
I have never heard it explained that way before, but it makes so much sense. The file, like, like, oh, I like
Yeah.
that file. I like what happened after I, did that. I've never heard it explained like that. And I love that analogy because it makes so much sense. And it seems a lot
Yeah.
easier, when you're knowing that your brain is just trying to recall that reward or that, that benefit. So,
yeah. And that's a really good way for people to visualize it, because when you first start talking about this with people, it can be quite a strange thing to think about the fact that you were doing so many things that you aren't really in control of, not consciously anyway. And those subconscious habits, a lot of them do come from when you were very young as a child. And so just imagine, everything that you've learned, especially in childhood, is stored in these files in your brain. And that's why your brain just goes to them, and automatically picks it out and applies it for whatever it needs to at that point in time. And, the good thing is, though, that we can form these new habits. It is possible to create these, to like train the muscle to create these new habits. I've done it, and that's part of what I do when I'm working with people and share my story as, motivation on social media as well. Is, I've been through a lot in my life that's meant I have had to put new habits in place. And so, it is absolutely possible. The other thing that I do when I work with people on this, which is probably the most important part of it, is that you need to understand why you want to change and why you want to do that. So when you talked again about the treadmill, why does that matter to you? Like, what is that going to give you? Why does that matter to you? And you keep asking why, like, why will it make a difference in your life? Why will it make you feel the way you want to? Why does that way you want to feel fit into what it is you want from life? Because once you really understand that, then you can be much more committed and driven to say, okay, actually, yeah, I am going to exercise because this matters to me for these reasons, rather than just saying, oh, I'm going to start exercising next week, or I'm going to start eating healthy on Monday. You need to really get into the nitty gritty of why it matters to you.
Yeah. I had a conversation in the car with my 9-year-old yesterday, and she asked me a question and I said, because that was the answer. It's like that quintessential answer that you as a parent give your child at some point in time that you got when you were little and you hate it. But she was like, well, why? And I was like, because that's the answer. Like, just because. I don't know how to explain it, but what you're saying is basically like going like beyond that. Because like, why should I exercise? Well, because it's, good for you. Like, that's just common sense. But going beyond that because is really what you're saying that we need to kind of figure out. And I love that. I think it's absolutely necessary.
It's quite funny, actually, that example you've just given with your child in the car, because I did a blog piece a few weeks ago on this little question of why. And that was one of the examples I used in there, was about how children ask why all of the time, and well, why, and as a parent you do just go, well, just because, or oh, that's just how it is. But a child's mind is actually the right way to think and approach things, and as adults we actually tend to really move away from that, because we just accept things as they are. We don't question, well, why does that work that way, or why do I have to do that? We just are in this culture of acceptance and doing and fitting in with the norm. So yeah, it definitely is something as adults we need to get a little bit better with asking ourselves.
Yes, I think there are a lot of things that kids do intention or innately in their nature that we probably should readopt as adults. So
yeah, for sure.
yeah. So I know that you have an amazing free guide that will help us to try to kind of figure out how we can find the time. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as I said, time is usually the first barrier and the biggest barrier that women have with taking the steps to start and put the changes in place that they want for a healthier lifestyle. So I've created a free guide. It's just a few pages on a PDF that you can download, and it gives you some great tips on how to get started right away with making time to create that healthier life that you're looking for. And it's just, really simple tips and ideas that you could look at and, try and take a little bit of knowledge from and implement a couple of things just to get started, because those first steps are always the hardest. Just making those first little changes are what really deters people from making the changes they want, because it just feels beyond reach. So if you can just make those first couple of steps, it can really then boost, your confidence and your motivation to go further and start really making the changes you're looking for.
If you are interested in downloading that guide, you can click on the link that is in the show notes and you will get it. Very excited and very thankful to have you here and sharing all of this amazing knowledge with our guests.
That's okay. I've really enjoyed it, Amanda. Thank you. And yeah, if people download it and they've got any questions, by all means, they're welcome to reach out, and I'm happy to help and give hopefully a little bit of motivation.
Perfect. And where is the best place for our listeners to find you online?
I like to hang out on Instagram mainly. I'm on Facebook as well. In both places, you can find me as Life Now Coaching. And you'll see on Instagram that there's lots of tips and motivation and just, connection as well. So by all means, please come along and give me a follow.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thank you for being here, and we will be excited to get your guide.
Great. I hope that you get some use from it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Determined Mom Show. We appreciate you, and we would love for you to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. This will help us reach as many other moms as we can. Don't forget to download your 10 things you should be doing to get more clients from Google Search Guide at rebrand.ly/Google10.